It states, "We continue to be asked by many people throughout the world if earthquakes are on the increase. Although it may seem that we are having more earthquakes, earthquakes of the magnitude of 7.0 or greater have remained fairly constant. Jesus said we would hear of earthquakes in various places. Fortunately, the USGS keeps a record of significant earthquakes that we would hear about in a handy section called Significant Earthquake. According to the USGS, a significant earthquake is one that causes significant death or damage. You know, the kind of earthquake that doesn't take a seismologist to certify. Listen, back in 1969, the USGS identified a total of 7 significant earthquakes. I had noted in my book that there had been a slight but discernible increase in worldwide earthquakes activity since Israel's rebirth in 1948. During the entire decade of the 1970s, the USGS recorded a total of 44 earthquakes it classified as significant. The following decade, from January 1980 to December 1989, the USGS recorded 47 significant earthquakes. That's for the entire decade. From 1990 through the end of 1999, the USGS identified 57 significant quakes. The last year of the 20th and the first year of the 21st centuries, the Earth seemed to take a short breather with fewer than a dozen either year. But in 2002, the Geological Survey recorded an astonishing 42 significant earthquakes. That's only 2 fewer than the entire decade of the 70s, and 5 less than the entire decade of the 1980s. In 2003, the USGS listed more than 70 significant earthquakes, more than the total number for the 70s, 80s, or the 90s. The website's data sheet makes no mention of the report criteria changing from year to year. Neither is there any mention of some new technology in the 2003 that made significant earthquakes easier to detect. In 2004, the USGS listed 94 significant earthquakes worldwide, more than the year before or the year before that or any previous decade on record. The year 2005 saw 51 added to the list. In 2006, however, there were only 33, roughly about as many as the entire decade of the 1960s. Last year, 2007, there were a total of 56 significant earthquakes on the USGS list. That's 1 fewer than the entire decade of the 1990s. And as I mentioned earlier, Monday's earthquake in western China was the 25th significant earthquake this year. It's only May. In case you've lost your calculator, that adds up to more than 380 significant earthquakes in the first 8.5 years of the 21st century. This decade alone has produced twice as many significant earthquakes as the entire 30 years from the release of the late great planet Earth to the turn of the century. And whether there are more quakes or just better scientific and media coverage, the point is, Jesus said that just before his return, we would increasingly hear about them. Let the USGS or the preterist theology try to explain that away. I'll be back after this message.